Well, you all know what time it is. It's 1 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. It'll be kind of a light show today. We're going to have, I think, 3 of us presenting. And a couple of them are like a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. But our next meeting, this is the last one of 2020. But I don't have another Christmas video like I did last year. We'll meet on January 19th of 2021. Class schedule again for next month. No instructor-led classes are scheduled at this time. But again, online classes that are available are Concept Station, Hydro, into MODOT, Hydrology and Hydraulics, Power Geopack Microstation Fundamentals, and Power Geopack Road 1. So those are online, so you could take those. And these are SS4 classes or SS10. So for our CAD updates for today, we're going to have Chris going to talk about the hosted ProjectWise update. Kevin's going to talk about the ORD updates. Then I'm going to show you some name boundary functionality. So, Chris, I don't know if can you unmute your.
I hear you.
Okay. Do you need to share?
Yeah. Let me just show a couple of things if that's okay.
No, you go right ahead. That's fine. I got to make you presenter. Sorry.
That's all right.
Change role. Okay. You should be good to go now.
All right. Okay. Well, as you know, probably everybody, we're switched to the hosted environment, and there's certain requirements that are required to connect to ProjectWise, and most of you have already ran into this before. I just kind of want to recap a couple things that in order to actually access any of the Bentley products, that you actually have to be connected to the Bentley connection clients, and that's a mandatory thing. You have to be logged in. So no matter what you do, you have to sign in, or else you can't even get into ProjectWise. I've had a lot of users that they have booted up their machine and they've tried to connect with the connection client before they're in the VPN, and they've gotten errors. In order to fix that error, sometimes it says is unable to connect, or you'll get an error message that something's not right. By hitting the X right here in the upper right-hand corner of the connection client, doesn't do anything except minimizes it, just like Teams. So if you really want to exit out of it so that it can actually kind of reboot itself, and then you actually have to choose the option to exit. That's kind of really important. So some other things that some of the users have ran into, and I'm sure you probably ran into this, if, say, for instance, they're not signed into it, and they try to launch the MODOT electronic plans, they're going to get the option for username and password. So that's an indication that the connection client is not logged in, and they'll get that message. If they ever get a message where it says username and password within the connection client, that means that they're not on the MODOT network. They have to get on the VPN, and then they can use just their email address. Some other things that may kind of help the users is that, like right now, my particular ID is within the taskbar, except it's kind of hidden right here. There are some nice features within Windows 10 in the taskbar that you can actually set up to make it look like you want it to look. So I'm going to change my taskbar settings. And so there's an option down here. It says which icons appear on my taskbar. So as you can see right now, all I have is an up arrow. If I go and choose this option, I can go and say, yeah, what do I want to have displayed in there? One of the options, I can actually click the option right here for displaying the Bentley connection client. I can do that, as well as, say, for instance, if I want to do the Cisco AnyConnect, which is the VPN network. And when I do that, you can see now in my task area on the lower right, now I have the VPN connection as well as the Bentley icon. So I can see that I'm actually connected. You can see there's a green check mark. So with that, then I can easily get connected to ProjectWise. So that's all I have really right now. If anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Um, Ran in this a couple days ago. About once a week, it asked you to re-sign in, and I got spaced off and was doing something else, and then I realized, and it told me the page is expired. Is there a?
Yeah, like I just said, if what you
Well,
do is right
I was doing
click,
this. Yeah, that's
exit,
what I did to
and
fix it.
okay, yep, that's what you got to
But
do. It times out sometimes.
okay, well, that was my question. Is it like a 5 minute timeout period, or does it
No.
know?
Sometimes, what you mean that you tried? Sometimes I've ran into this where you leave your machine run, and I'm like, my machine is always, I have to shut it down because I'm actually at home.
Mm,
But some people are using the log me in or remote desktop to it, so it's running continuously. And
mm,
sometimes that could cause that to happen depending on the network connectivity there at the district office. Um, but the easy way to do it is just to hit the exit, then go to the Bentley and go ahead and choose a connection client and launch it one more time, and it comes back up and running.
okay.
Now, I usually don't try to when I'm at home. When I boot up, the first thing I do is I connect to the VPN. I don't do anything with the connection client. I don't do anything with Teams because Teams is using authentication already. Um, MicroStation, or excuse me, the ProjectWise environment will have that as well, except we're not using that feature right now. Once we get stuff situated, we will be able to do stuff that you won't be able to. You won't really have to get onto the Modot network to actually use ProjectWise. You can use it out from the cloud, but we're not at that point. But in the future, that's what's going to be available to us. But that's the easiest way to handle that is to exit and then restart it. Good question.
Yeah, I think that needs to be passed around to everybody in your districts so everybody
Yeah.
knows that.
Just remember, if it's asking for user ID and password, it's connection client is the solution or VPN.
Yeah.
Right, Kevin?
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. I was having that problem right before this meeting, so
Yeah. It seems like yeah, you had a problem like every day where I get emails from you.
Okay,
So.
Kevin, you ready to share?
Sure.
I'll make you the presenter. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, get my PowerPoint situated here. Okay, I just have a quick update on open roads, and go ahead and go to the next slide. Some ORD items that we're still. Hey, Bill, can you see this first before I keep on going?
Yes, yeah, we can see it.
Okay, good. Some ORD items that we're still working on. We're pretty close getting to the end on this. We're still working on, and this is about 90% done, an SS4 to SS or SS10 conversion document. So if you want to convert your SS10 project to ORD, you can do that. We're not going to force anyone into ORD right now. Our plan is to let you finish out in an SS10 project. And finish it in an SS10. We're not going to force you, but if you're at the beginning stages of your project and you want to update or upgrade to ORD, there will be a document out there for you to do that. I'm still working on the printing option in ORD, PDF creation, reports. We're going to be able to actually, instead of the way it is now where you got to sift through 20, 30 reports, we can actually pick out the best reports that most people use and just set it up so you just have a few reports to sift through instead of there's probably hundreds of them out there right now. We also need to work on a non-ProjectWise managed workspace, because once we go to ORD, our workspace will be inside of ProjectWise. And for our consultants out there, we need to create a workspace that's not in ProjectWise so they can utilize our workspace. So we're working on that as well. Sheet indexing within ProjectWise we're still looking at, and with that it'll basically manage all your sheet numbering, and it'll actually be able to create a sheet out that has all your the list of all your plan sheets and stuff like that.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin? Can I just interrupt real fast?
Sure.
The part that you talked about, the non-project-wise managed workspace, and you're talking about having that environment in project-wise. So anybody that's in the Southwest District that works out in construction, it'd probably be best for you guys to get into ProjectWise, because ProjectWise is going to be the only way how that you're going to be able to access the files and use them. So if anybody's in the Southwest, you may need to address that.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.
No problem. There is a labeler tool that's currently in ORD, but it's not super functional. They're creating a new one because most of the states have kind of complained about the functionality of their current labeler tool. And so they're currently working on a new labeler tool. I think they're calling it Labeler Tool 2.0. And we're hoping they're going to have that done before we roll out, but it's going to be a close one on that one. So we'll have to look at that before it gets rolled out. And then also the plan sheet creation. There's a little, they've added some functionality, but then they lost some functionality in this with their new tool, and we're kind of expressing our concerns about the things that have been lost in functionality. So they're looking at it as well. With the SS10 and prior, you had clipping shapes and you could slide them around and stuff like that. It's a little bit tougher to do in ORD, and we've kind of expressed that concern. So they're looking at that. When is ORD going to be pushed out to the districts? We're still kind of looking probably mid-year next year. Again, we will get with each district well in advance, and we'll probably again do it just like we did from SS2 to SS4 when we converted. We let the people that wanted to stay in SS2 finish out their projects. We're going to kind of do the same thing as well. We'll let you finish out your SS10 project in SS10. Again, what are the differences between Open Roads Designer? No more Geopack Inroads or MX. That's the three current Bentley civil products. They're kind of merging all those into one, and they're calling it Open Roads Designer. It's 64-bit technology. Right now, Power Geopack's 32-bit. All the old native tools, the plan sheet creation tools will all be updated into a new tool. And that includes plan sheet tools, alignment stationing, all the missing COGO tools that they never brought forward are there now. For example, the translation, rotation, and scaling tools in the COGO tools now. Survey and design feature definitions are the same now. That before they were a little bit different animal and kind of caused a little problems in SS10, but we came up with workarounds for that. But in ORD, they're the same animal. So there's a new interface. Again, it's like a Word or an Office product. And again, we're going to be using a managed workspace within ProjectWise. So technically, we won't be using the workspace on the T drive when we go to ORD, and so we won't be really utilizing that T drive anymore. We're not going to take that away. That'll be IS's call when the T drive goes away, but it won't be coming from CAD. So as far as 32-bit versus 64-bit, again, 32-bit you can have about a little over 4 gigs of memory. And this is probably the biggest reason why to go to ORD. With 64-bit, you can have access up to almost a little over 17 billion, or up to 17 gigabytes of memory. So this is what it kind of looks like ORD again. It's got the ribbons across the top, and you can switch the ribbons, and then all the tools kind of change. And again, that would probably be the biggest issue going to ORD is just knowing where the tool is. But there are several things that we're going to show you that makes it kind of easy to figure out where the tools are at. But once you get used to it, pretty much things work the same. Like the create templates, the template dialog looks identical. Corridors work the same way. Super elevation is very similar. So I think once you get into that program, it's not going to be that difficult to run because you're kind of used to it already in SS10 and SS4. And then the one thing that will be changing again, we're going to kind of be switching up how the project looks in ProjectWise. You'll have your job number, but we're going to put all the all the main functions underneath that job number. And the reason in the past, people were always gun shy of doing that because, they thought people were going to be looking in their folder, messing up the files. But, with the way Chris can handle permissions, you can pretty much lock anybody out of a folder. So we think it's best to kind of group everything under the job number so it's all in one location. So if we ever have to archive the project once it's done, we can do it a lot easier than we could do now. So, and that's about the end of my update. So if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them.
I like that picture though, right there.
The questions? Oh, the blues? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that picture.
So trying to share and Bill, unless you can do that for me.
I got it. Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, can you hear me? This is Jeff Franks.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how's it going? I had a question about some compatibility issues with, say, Adobe Acrobat Pro and ProjectWise files and ProjectWise. Do you still have to export them out in order to make, say, a one document PDF file out of them? Say I want a PDF file of some preliminary plans or something like that. Do I still have to export those things out in the new, in all this new stuff? In order to,
hey, Chris,
I guess, in order to.
You're referring to the renditions, right?
No, it's if I want to send some PDF files to, say, the utilities engineer or something like that, then or maybe even maybe to a consultant outside or something like that. I have to export the PDFs outside of ProjectWise in order to combine them in Adobe Acrobat Pro.
Right, because it's not a true integration with the Adobe products. So yeah, you would still have to do that right now. Yeah.
So it's really not a good idea to get rid of the T drive because that's where I do my combinations.
I don't think we're going to get rid of the T drive per se like that, because if we still do plotting the way that we're doing right now, we still need a place to dump files just like that. I think what we're referring to is that the workspace environment that has our standards and everything will no longer be on your T drive. There will be the T drive will be there, or a drive will be somewhere that we will use for some purposes that we still need to have around.
Okay.
Whether it be for batch processing for the PDFs, stuff like that. Yeah, that it will still be there.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Okay, let me get to my screen. Any questions over what Chris and Kevin have talked about? Any other questions? I'm going to move on and do my little presentation if I can get this thing out of my way. Can you see my screen?
Looks good, Bill.
All right, looks good. All right, what I'm going to talk about is the new Open Roads Designer plan sheet tools that we have. And right now I'm in a corridors file for my project. You can see I've got my 2D and my 3D window. Well, when we do our plan sheets, we want to create a retainer file, which is a blank, empty file, and reference everything into it. So I'll do that real quick, create a 2D retainer file for my plan sheet. And it's always good to check your source. Of course, it's on the other screen. And for some reason, hid behind stuff. Okay, so 2D, I'm good to go. I'm going to give it a name. It's a retainer file, so I want to call it plan sheets for one, or a full plan sheet. I'll do a full plan first. Plan, and then I'll do my underscore and then give it the job number.
Now, Bill, just let you know, we can't see that dialogue on the screen, but
you cannot see the dialogue?
Yeah, no.
Well, that's weird. Okay, I'll just fill it out real quick.
I didn't want to say nothing in case it was just me.
Well, I'm glad somebody said something.
Me too. I feel way better.
Okay, so I just named it something. I'm open. You can see MicroStation, you just can't see what
That is
I've done.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I created a brand new file. You see it, it's going through the dialogues now.
You still see your corridor file. So
Okay. It should change any second now. See a blank file?
no.
Still see your corridor file.
Well, that is weird. Hang on, let me check something here. What is this stupid?
It's a good looking corridor file though, Bill. Don't you think, Shannon?
That's great. Well, I want to
It's one of the
share
best.
that. Share content. Screen 2. Oh, yep, you're seeing. I don't want to share it to screen 2. Unless it works better over there. It didn't seem like it was working on the other one.
Yeah, you're gonna be careful with what you share there.
Let's try window 1. What you guys are still seeing. Let me stop sharing and try it again. Never had this issue. Screen 1. And it should be
There,
a blank
file.
blank file. Ain't that sweet?
Yay.
I don't know what the hang up was of that, but
Isn't that Bill's normal screen blank?
it's sometimes. So the first thing you do, you create that blank file you're going to use as a retainer file. And then we're going to use the attach reference dialog. We're going to use that. And of course, that came up on the other screen. And can you see it? You can't see that dialog, can you?
Yes,
We
I
can't.
can.
We can't.
Yeah.
We can't see it. Yeah.
Oh, this is stupid. So what I'm doing in the background is I'm grabbing that corridors of
I can see
Route
that.
54. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Your reference, attaching a reference. I can see. you attaching
Can you
it.
see that now? Okay, so all I did was grab corridors Route 54. That's the only one I want to work with the plan sheet on this. But instead of grabbing all the files that go along with it, I'm going to come down here and change this live nesting to a nesting depth of 1, which will allow me to bring across all the references that are attached to that Route 54. Any higher number than this, and you're risking some dangerous stuff. So 1 works out really well. I'll hit 1, hit the OK, and then I'll do a fit view, and you can see I have my project in the background. Now, there's a button on here that we don't usually use, and it's this hierarchy button over here on your reference dialog. You'll want to use that when you're doing live nesting, because to be able to handle the other references, you'll have to use the plus signs to open them up. So you open up the file you're in, you open up the reference file that's attached, and then all the live nesting that's in there. And it works the same way as regular nesting or referencing. You can right click and do exchange and do anything that you need to do in those files. Okay, so I've got my files brought across that I want to use. Again, it's a blank file, it just has references to it. So next thing I want to do is I want to create my name boundaries. So my name boundaries is located under the workflow of Open Roads Drawing Productions. Okay, so
Bill, is this name boundary kind of like a clipping shape?
this is what's going to place our clipping shapes out there, is these name boundaries. It replaces that. So when I go to this tool, place name boundary, it'll default to the last tool I used, which looks like I used the profile, create civil profile tool. But for this, for the full plan, I want to use the civil plan, which is the first icon out here. Okay. Next thing I want to do is change my scale, and I want to choose a design D-size full plan for this. But you can also see that we have a plan, and we also have a plan profile. Thank you, Chad, for getting all that together. Just thought I'd give a shout out to Chad.
No problem.
So once we get our sheet size figured out, you could do a couple different things. We want to pick our detail scale. So I want 1 inch equals 50 for this little project. And then the next thing I could do is go out and just pick the alignment. It tells you down here in the bottom left, you have to identify a path. Now you can either fill this dialog all out, or you can get to this point. And I like getting to this point and picking the center line. And so when I do, it populates my name of my name boundary tool. And then it also lets me dynamically start where my sheets are. So these sheets are just really, they're just like they were before, clipping shapes that we're going to place out here. Well, I want to start it at the beginning. Okay, so I'll go to the beginning and I'll just left click, and then you can walk down your alignment with your mouse and you can fit as many sheets as you want. And I'll go 3 sheets in there, and then left click to place it. And then before I pick this last one, before I accept it, I do want to change my overlap, because right now you can see I'm missing some of the project here. Okay, and like Kev was talking about before, the sliding sheets and stuff, they're not there yet. So what I've done is come in here and change my overlap to 50. Let's try it again. Lock that in, and now you'll see that it encompasses that piece that was missing. So we're overlapped. Also, it starts off on the border on the left side a little bit, giving you some room. So once you've got your shapes where you want them, all you have to do is go out and accept it. And it tells you again down here in the bottom left to go ahead and accept our data point in the plan view to place the boundary. Okay. So I do have this create drawing unchecked. I'm going to go back to that in a minute. And there they are. The shapes are there. You can move them, and they'll reflect however you move them, but it doesn't slide one from the other like the SS2 tool would, where we can move one of these shapes and the previous and the one following it would move. Okay. Now I'm ready. Really, before I go do any of this stuff and cut these sheets, the first thing I'd want to do is go back to Open Roads Modeling, and then hit my level tool and bring it over. And what I want to do is, I don't know if you can see the level display tool. Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And what I do from there is I'll select this without opening it up. I don't want to open it up and have to touch each individual one, but I'll go to the corridors file and select it, and then come down and right click and do off by element. And then I'm going to come in and turn off some things that I don't want to see on my plan sheets. And, you know, like your template drops, maybe the model itself, the corridor itself. Turn off some of that. Here's something we don't want to see. Got some more template drops in here you really don't want to see. Now, if you don't do it at this point in time, and here's the for super elevation shape, we'll turn that off. If you don't do it at this point in time, you're going to cut these sheets and then have to go into each individual sheet and do this later. So it depends on what you want to do. I like to save a little bit of time. So once I got it to where I like it, it's good enough. I can go ahead and get out of that tool. And then I'm ready to go cut my sheets. So I have to go back to that Open Roads Drawing Production tool, or workflow. Make sure I'm at the drawing production, and then you'll see down here with the name boundaries, there's a little bitty icon, which I don't understand why they do this kind of stuff. It's like the name boundary manager. And so what you'd want to do is select this little bitty button, which again, I don't understand, should be a big button. But I'll select it and look for it somewhere. I don't know if it's on my other screen, and it is. Can you see that one now, Chad? You guys see that?
Yep.
Okay, good.
You're good.
So what we did is we created a plan group, and we got our clipping shapes out here, and it's going to, each sheet that we cut is going to contain exactly what's in there. And you can see in this name boundary tool, we open up the plan groups, there's Route 54, which contains 3 different plan sheets in here. Okay. So we're going to take this plan sheet, and I'm going to make sure that this show me the create dialog, because there's some other things that you want to see, that you want to do on the way out. So we're going to process these sheets, but we want one more setting. Now, to process these, I can right click and create plan drawing, or I can hit the icon up here on the tool. Since I right clicked, I'll go ahead and click this to create the plan drawing with that icon selected up here, which brings me to the create drawing dialog. Here's an important part. We're going to create one sheet of per DGN for each one of these shapes that we have out here. The other part is this naming thing. You can see that there's spaces in here, and our plotting routine does not handle that well. So we'll come back and name it a little bit more plotter friendly. And on this, I'd be calling it, you know, J5. And then underscore. And then I give it the name that I want to use. Full plan. And then give it the number. So, of course, I can't type. Can't see for crap. But anyway. Underscore. And I'll give it a 1 at the end so that when it creates it, it's going to take this number here at the end and then add a 2 and 3 and how many sheets you have. But not having any special characters or spaces in here alleviates the issue of plotting. Okay, so that looks good. Here's another one that you'd want to check on. Well, let's see, this one here too would do 1 inch equals 50 here. And down here at the bottom, it defaults to something else. And what you want to do is you want to scroll down till you see by name boundary. Okay. So I'm going to pick that one. And then you have an option at the end of this to open the model. And what it's talking about is opening the last sheet that we create. So that would be full plan number 3. And I'll just leave it checked on and open that up. Hit the OK button when I'm finished, and you just let it process. And believe it or not, it's picked up a lot of speed since earlier when we were doing this. It creates it pretty quick. See, it's already got one of the sheets done at 33%. Yeah, that water was good. That's right. Just in case you were wondering. Okay. So it's going to have me update the server copy, and you want to do that. And then you're going to check in the other sheets that it created. So we'll check it in and the main one that we created it from. So our retainer file, August checked in. Bringing us to that last plan, full plan number 3. And when it does, it opens it up to the last, or to the, that's going to give you this informational. You just have to close it. It's going to open up to the sheet model. So you can see the sheet model in the background. And on name boundaries, there's nothing here because I didn't do it in this file. So I'm going to close this out. So this is our sheet file, the way it is. You can go to the drawing file just by going to the changing the models. And I like to do it down here at the bottom. There's many different ways of changing it. You can use the bring the model tool out or whatnot, but I always like to do it this way. So when you open it up, here's the part where you would edit. This is the part where if you had to place a north arrow in here, you would go to the workflow, change it to MoDOT CAD detailing standards. And we're in design, so we'll stick to design. And there's a icon here. You just select it. There's your north arrow. Select it. And you want to make sure you have AccuDraw on, or else it's going to place it at a true north, or the view north. And you don't want that. You want it to go to true north. And everybody knows how to do that. You just toggle through the V and the T on your AccuDraw, and it will change that north arrow for you. So we want to place it true north. We'll go ahead and select it out there. And maybe I've got a graphic scale I want to place, you know. So I'll select it, place it in there. So a note, maybe you had a note you want to put in here, plan sheet note. Let's see, roadway. Let's place one with, let me see if there's a good one in here. I'll just put there's supposed to be a barrier here, so we'll just type in route 54 barrier, and then you would come out and just select where that barrier is at, and then just select where you want it placed, and you're good to go. So we've done some manipulation to this, and then you can go back to your sheet file, and you can see what you've got. You place your north arrow in there, your scale, and your note. Now, if you did have some text you needed to move, like this text right here, you can still exchange like you could before. You can just open it up in that drawing model, go back to one of these workflows that has the references. You'll find that they're everywhere, and that's kind of nice. We wanted to see that. And then you would, well, first you want to know which one it's in, and that one's in the civil geometry. So you would make sure your show hierarchy's open, and then navigate down till you find your civil geometry. And that's the one right here. You can right click, exchange. It's gonna have us save some stuff. Bring us into that civil geometry file. And then I'm going to change my workflow to drawing so I could get my move tool. Just select my information that I want to move. Maybe I needed to bump it a little bit further up or back or whatever. And then when you go back into that other file, you'll see that it's changed. And that was number 3, which is that one. And you'll see it'll be a little closer, but you can see how quick this is working too, which I'm talking months ago, I was not real happy with all the speeds that we had with this thing. It was taking forever to do things. So it's, for some reason, it's gotten a lot quicker. I guess that's because we went to the other thing, Chris, right?
Actually, I've been working on that, Bill, the last couple months.
Yes, yeah, I believe that.
Actually, it was like I didn't notice there was a turbo button I didn't push in, and that helped it.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick for plan sheets. I was planning on doing plan and profile sheets, but I know it's getting a little long in this meeting. So I don't know if you guys got any questions. We can cover them.
Maybe you can say plan profile for another meeting, or
I thought that I can do it next meeting or the meeting after or whatever, since it's always my turn. I mean, I'm just bringing that up. Right, Kevin?
Bill, it's your turn next time too.
That's what I thought. So let me go back to what was it out there? This thing here. I don't know if anybody's got any questions on everything that's been covered today, but if you do, now's your time to shout it out.
Hey, this is Steve.
I know who.
Hey, Bill, can you mute him?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Go ahead, Steve.
I have a question about open roads. What's the situation with open roads and chord-defined curves?
It's pretty similar to what SS10 is. You're going to have to go into the settings to get it to draw a chord-defined curve. We begged them to put it into the tool, and they just would not listen to us. So again, it's kind of similar to the way the workflow is currently, where you got to go into the settings, switch it to chord, go store the chord-defined curve. And if you need the next curve is arc, you got to go back and switch it to the arc setting. So,
Kevin groveled. He did. Yes.
I was very upset with them for not fixing that, because that was been in the pipeline a long time, and they just chose to ignore it. So.
Okay, that works for me.
Steve, he forgot to say please.
Sounds about right. Thanks, Steve. Anybody else got anything? Anybody?
Bill, I guess the only thing one other thing we did interview for.
I can't hear anybody. Is somebody talking right now? Anybody else? Go ahead, Kevin.
We did interview for the drainage position, and we do have an offer out to someone, and hopefully next meeting we'll be able to possibly introduce that individual. So he'll
nice.
Hopefully they'll be working with Chad in the future. So
well, good. Anybody other than Kevin have anything else? Anybody? No? Everything going good with the switch? Everybody happy? Seems like it's working pretty good for us. All right, I guess that'd be the end of the meeting. You guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or whatever you want to call all that stuff. And we will see you in January. Of course, if you got any questions or anything, you can reach out to any one of us, and we'll be happy to help you. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.